Every estate planner should be aware of lots of different developments, but if I have to single out maybe one development that everybody's paying attention to, it's one that hasn't happened yet, and that's the scheduled sunset of a lot of the provisions from the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Most importantly, the basic exclusion amount that individuals have is set to be reversed back to $5 million adjusted for post-2011 inflation. No one knows what that amount could be reduced to, but it would be a significant reduction in the exclusion amount, meaning that a lot of people who currently don't have transfer tax exposure could suddenly find themselves rich again. Planners have to be prepared to adjust plans in the event that the sunset does happen. Now, we've been down this road a few times in just the past decade where exemption amounts were supposed to sunset, be reduced to lower amounts, and it never comes to pass. And so you might reasonably conclude it's not going to happen again at the end of 2025. But I don't know that you can take that chance, and I don't know in the current environment that anybody feels 100% confident one way or the other. So when you design a plan for a married taxpayer, for example, you need to anticipate both that they might have a taxable estate and that they might not, and yet still create a plan that fulfills their wishes regardless of what happens to the tax laws. The Connolly case tells us that any corporate-owned life insurance is included in a valuation of the company. So if I own shares in a corporation that owns a life insurance policy on my life, that asset reflects the value of the stock for estate tax purposes. I think it means that everybody has to be careful in the drafting of their buy-sell agreements to make sure that they understand that if they're going to fund that agreement with insurance, whether it's through a cross-purchase or through a standard redemption, you can't just ignore or claim that the future liability to pay off insurance proceeds cancels out the value of the insurance. You have to assume it's going to be part of the value of the stock. I have a hard time believing that there's going to be any significant tax reform regardless of who wins the election or what party is in control of Congress come January of 2025. It's simply not in the cards for one party to have dominant control over both the White House and both houses in Congress to be able to implement their full wish list of ideas. So when you have that kind of gridlock within Congress and that lack of cooperation with the White House, you end up with not anything happening, which means we're just going to keep the status quo going, kicking the potential sunset can down the road, maybe another couple of years.